We face many points of inflection in our careers and our lives, from new jobs and promotions to difficult bosses and layoffs. If we had all the time and resources possible, we could certainly figure it out eventually, but we don't. The challenge is that we're walking into roles where expectations are sky high, timelines are crunched, and there isn't much patience. So you need an accelerator, and that's exactly where coaching can help. Think of coaching as a catalyst for your success. In Coaching Ahas, we share stories of leaders, their courage and vulnerability to lean into coaching, and the breakthroughs that change their lives forever. Welcome to Coaching Ahas, where we share real stories of talented coaches and clients, one aha at a time. Today, my guest is Teresa Duke. She's a fellow coach and business executive. Welcome, Teresa. So excited to dive into Coaching Ahas with you today.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. It's wonderful to spend time with you, Shahana.
Wonderful, wonderful. So the goal is to share client stories. So tell us a little bit about the client who had this breakthrough.
Okay, I'm going to share an executive. I've been working with an incredibly lovely person, working in a very high ambiguity, very complex style of executive role and industry. And they sought me out because they didn't have a clear sense of direction, where they wanted to go next. There was lots of different shifts and changes in the organization. And they were feeling a little bit, maybe even disenfranchised, been there for a long period of time, and it was time to make a change. And they had the typical golden handcuffs in a market that was unstable outside. It's, why would you disrupt what you have and yet you're feeling miserable, overworked, and a lot of executives fall into the trap of being what everyone wants you to be, but not really listening to what they really truly want, and also had a lot of whispers of dreams, but not knowing where to start or where to begin.
It sounds like he was on a quest for meaning that he seemed to be missing in his current work environment. Am I reading that right?
Yeah. I don't think society kind of encourages us to consider what, our unique preferences and skills and inclinations are wanting. Society benefits, it seems, when we are structuring ourselves for what the business needs, what the boss needs, what, the family member or the father or like whoever needs. And so I find that the search for meaning is also the search for oneself, for one's own true direction. And so a lot of executives think it's the next thing, but it's also not just the next thing, it's the thing that is in alignment with who you really are.
That's a great point. We put ourselves last sometimes, and this is a great reminder to sort of look at it differently. So tell us a bit about how you were able to help this client.
Well, what happens in this kind of a situation, and for this client, is that you want to figure things out, but you also need to do really well in your current role. So we're balancing those two pieces at the same time. So in terms of what we did, we figured out what would excellence look like. And for them, they actually wanted to get promoted. They didn't just want to keep the lights on. They wanted to become a better leader and tackle more complex and more, more opportunities that promotions could provide him. And in addition, they realized they wanted to create their own creative outlet. And for them, we ended up figuring out that it was a creative side business, which was really cool. The neat things that happened was that they actually did get that promotion that we mentioned. And by understanding, when we were working together, he was starting to interview people that had other creative pursuits outside. So getting some information and some data and some resources around what was possible and what could inspire him. And he had a huge epiphany with a super strength. I call it a super strength, which is a strength that is energizing, but also something that you're good at. He didn't realize in a session that he had a certain ability. I reflected it back to him. What I heard was a unique genius moment. This is something unique to you. He took that and went away for a bit and came back with a huge epiphany, a huge shift that this was the type of creativity he wanted to create for the rest of his career after he finished with his executive appointments.
That's such an amazing story because it sounds like he found fulfillment not just in one place, but in two,
Yeah.
one of which he created himself. That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. What is one aha moment or breakthrough? I'm sure there were so many insights in your, conversations with him, but what's one aha moment that you think helped him really shift and, realize that genius?
Well, it happened both during and after the coaching session,
Mhm.
kind of in two parts.
Right.
In the coaching session, the nice thing about when you have a good, solid coaching relationship, you can say whatever. You don't have to worry about feeling like you're bragging or sounding inadequate or anything like this. And as he was sharing um, what he absolutely loved to do, he was reflecting to me this really interesting strength, which was it wasn't just about being someone who is very energized by presenting, but he was also an artist. And he had this
Wow.
incredible way of combining art and creativity with presentation. And he
Yeah.
was very energized and passionate about the two of them. And
Wow, that's
so,
amazing. In
yeah,
a world
yeah.
where most of us would rather die than present, I mean, that's pretty unique.
Oh, yeah. He was like, what? People don't have this? And I'm like, no, they don't. And
Hmm.
so it was one of those wonderful moments where you're kind of reflecting to someone what they already have shining brilliant already there,
Yeah.
like a unique genius. And so like lifting off the veil or dusting off the dust, he saw himself in a new way.
Hmm.
And and so that was stunning. And then the real fun was the next session, coming back and hearing how he had reflected and not only just reflected on this unique genius, but had turned it into, I know what I want for the rest of my life to do.
Ah,
And it was so powerful and so like, emotional for him. And even to watch someone feel like they had found some of their true self and true
yeah,
being.
they're calling.
Yeah. Their calling. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is an amazing story.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because coaching does lead to insights and epiphanies that you often can't predict.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the questions we talk about sound simple, but it's not
Yes.
simple, right? Because it's the
No.
right question, meeting the right time, and meeting client
Mhm.
readiness, as it happened in
Mhm.
your case. Thank you for sharing that story with us.
My pleasure.
You've had a successful corporate career before, Teresa. What
Yeah.
drew you to the world of coaching, and why is it important to you?
Um, I was actually a reluctant coach. I felt like, oh, everyone's becoming a coach. Um, I was heading up HR or something like that, and coaching lots of leaders in my roles. And I had friends who were coaches, and they were like, Teresa, you're a coach, and I'm like, no. And they're like, no, 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 you really need to look into this. And one of my friends in particular bugged me for about 2 years. Teresa, just take this training. I promise you won't regret it. And I resisted and resisted. And then finally, I was very fortunate to be able to participate in this training. And it was just like, it was like being a fish in mud before, and suddenly I was a fish in water. So the coaching,
Wow.
yeah, the coaching spoke to me. It's, moments of bliss. They say follow your bliss. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
it was it changed my life drastically for the better becoming a coach, but also when I became coached years before, I grabbed a coach because I was sick of trying to ask everyone what I should do and couldn't hear my own yeses, my own nos, and trust my own guidance. And so, it drastically changed my life for the better, and has been so important because I feel like I know myself. I can stop banging into things because I understand my dimensions. And in terms of alignment, my
Yeah.
decisions can come a little bit more aligned. So, and now I help others do the same
Yeah.
as to what I experienced. So it's a really great honor to have that opportunity.
Could you share a moment of aha or unlock that you've had, Teresa, from being coached?
Yes, a very recent one with you, actually. Um, you know, if a coach doesn't have a coach, you're a big hypocrite. So I'm very fortunate, Shahana, that you are in my life and you have magnificent coaching skills. So the aha moment very simply was, it seems obvious, but sometimes you have to unpeel layers of concepts in your life before you reach a real depth of understanding. And for me, it was something I call the miracle mindset. I've been through my life, every now and then you want to get the gold star and get the person who's happy with you, very external validation, those sorts of
Like the
things.
people pleaser.
People pleaser, recovering one myself. And so it was just a simple moment where it was like, wait a minute, I'm going to redefine success as a miracle mindset, so that as I move through my life in the present moment, which is the only thing that exists
Yeah.
anyways, as I move through my life in this miracle mindset, that I am already successful. And
Yeah.
that success tends to take care of itself when you're in a good headspace anyways,
Yeah.
and you're executing because you have the energy. So that was a big epiphany. I was very
Yeah.
grateful for you making lots of space for me to find it.
Oh my God, I still remember the conversation. I had goosebumps because I think it's the first time that I think as we talked through it, the fact that success is not a destination, it's not a position, it's not an achievement, but
Yeah.
a mindset. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
That
It was
is
huge.
really powerful. Thank you
Yes.
for sharing that story, Teresa.
My pleasure. Thank you for the coaching. In terms of where I wish I had it when I didn't, I'm sure we have a lot of these. Well, I was experiencing the golden handcuffs pain in a job as a leader, and I knew I needed to leave my job in some way, because I was not experiencing alignment with the leadership I was working with or the way that the business was being run. And I ignored myself for almost a year. I ignored my instincts, and it was excruciating. It was so painful. I also had a challenge that I was going through in my personal life at the same time. So my cup was running over in confusion.
Mm,
And with this ignoring of myself, it made things very, very painful. And so if I'd had coaching, I would have wasted less time.
yeah.
Even though now I know that now I'm like, it wasn't time wasted, but it makes you wonder. It could have been shorter.
Yeah.
I learned, if I had had coaching, I would have been able to listen to my own wisdom
Yeah.
instead of um, living in a state of fear of losing my job. So in holding on to something that's slipping through your fingers in a feeling of desperation and fear, I could have changed it to the courage to find the job and the profession that was right for me.
Right, right. Oh, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And, I'm so glad we're doing this series because it's exactly for that, right? I mean, you and I both have had situations where we wish we had coaching but didn't. And our goal with this is to help people know that in those moments when you feel stuck, you feel alone, you feel uncertain, you feel unsure of yourself and of where you're going, right? There is help available.
Yeah.
And, that's where I think coaching can really help. Last question. What's your favorite coaching question? Ooh.
If there was nothing to fear, what would you do?
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Teresa, for coming to our coaching ahas and sharing your wisdom with our listeners.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.